Welcome to the TeenTix Arts Podcast, also known as TAP, a Seattle-based youth podcast that focuses on empowering youth voices through the exploration of art. Here on this podcast, we share our favorite artistic topics by exploring their histories and cultural impacts, but not by only offering our perspective as teens. We interview artists, from emerging teen artists to ones well-established in their careers. I'm Blue.
And I'm Mykah, and this week we'll be talking about something pretty niche, I would say, and that topic is concert photography. So I would say concert photography is pretty self-explanatory, but essentially it's a form of photography where the photographer attends a concert and takes photos of the artist or band performing live.
Concert photography is very prominent in live music today, and it can be credited to your favorite photos of an artist that you love on stage.
As much as it's popular now, it mainly got popular during the height of rock and roll in the 50s and 60s with bands like the Rolling Stones and the Beatles. Since then, it has evolved into its own career in the music industry where few top artists perform without at least one photographer on site.
So now we're going to take a deep dive into the inner workings of this form of media and how it fits into the entertainment industry.
Okay, so the way I got into concert photography was actually like a complete accident. I'm a huge Harry Styles fan, and anyone I know could tell you that about me. But yeah, I went to one of his shows in 2022 during his tour called Love on Tour in LA, and I started seeing photos on my social media like Instagram and TikTok everywhere of just like really cool photos of him dancing and singing. And then I remember somewhere in 2023, he got a new photographer, and the whole fandom on like Twitter and TikTok became obsessed with him and were like making edits of him and stuff. And his name was Lloyd Wakefield. And then before that, I had never really given much thought into like the photos I was seeing of like artists I listened to. But like when Lloyd Wakefield became popular, that was when I was like, hey, I could make a job out of going to concerts and taking photos. And I was like, those are my two favorite things. So I was really interested in it.
Yeah, so you're talking about like it as a job. So like what would that entail, like if that were to be your job?
Concert photography is a job. I feel like it's kind of like such a weird job to have. It's like kind of dependent on artists being successful and going on tour. But I mean, from what I gather, just like really big like photographers will just go on tour with an artist and like be in the tour bus and be at rehearsals and shows and stuff and just take photos of the band and hang out with people. I just think it's really cool.
Yeah, I feel like it would be so cool to like do that because then you just get to like hang out with cool people all the time and like
imagine just your favorite artist and you're just like with them on tour.
No, that would be like so fun. Like also like what do you think like the difference between concert photography and like other forms of photography, like how does that?
From like a photographer's perspective, I think like a lot of people take like landscapes or portraits or like things like that where it's kind of more like static. I feel like a lot of times concerts are very movement based and like so many things are happening. And also like I feel like it's just a different experience because of the environment. Like concerts are loud and dark most of the time and there's a lot of people there. And I think it's like it's much more fast-paced than other forms of photography.
Yeah, for sure. And also I feel like it's like really good at like, I mean, all photography is capturing a moment, but like I feel like when you're talking about like static images versus like movement, like it's like really good at like capturing that like specific moment and stuff. So when you're talking about like actually shooting shows, what is that like?
I shot my first show this year. Shout out to the Moore Theater. Shout out to Lindsay Lomas. She's so cool. But yeah, it was really a cool experience. I got to the venue and they actually didn't have my photo pass at will call and I freaked out. I was like, what do I do? What am I supposed to do here? But I mean, it all worked out. But yeah, I showed up. I got a photo pass. I brought my camera inside. I was the only photographer there for her. It was honestly really nerve-wracking. I was like, oh my God, hey guys, like, what's up? Theater full of people. But yeah, I went in front of the barricade and I was just taking photos of this artist that I really loved. Something funny in like the concert photography world is like it's very common for photographers to only be there for the first 3 songs. So that was like I was so locked in. Like
No, I remember I went to see The Cure and I'm sure this I love The Cure. But I'm sure this is a thing at like every concert I've been to, but it was the first time I actually noticed like the 3-song thing, because I was like pretty close so I could like see everyone, like the photographers like in front of the barricade, and I was like I like saw them all come out and then all leave at once, and I was like, what is happening? And I like figured that it was like a rule, obviously, like that they had to leave after 3 songs, but I was like, but what if something interesting happens after those 3 songs? Like, I know, that's so sad. Like, I always think about like if they like do something cool and then you can't, there's no photos of it. Yeah, exactly. So why can't, like, I don't know. But I feel like maybe they came out for the end too. I can't really remember. Yeah. Also, like when you're talking about concert photography, like we were talking about like capturing a moment, but I think also like a big thing about concert photography is that it creates such a relationship between the artist and the fan.
I think like that's something that I really love about concert photography as like a huge fan of so many different people and so many different things. Like I love like my favorite thing is when I go to a show and then the artist like posts a picture that I'm in and I'm like, wait, you posted me. But yeah, I just like I think it really makes the artist feel more like human and less like a name and a face. Like I remember during Love on Tour, like Harry Styles posted photos of him like backstage, just like chilling, eating sushi and like just like doing his hair and stuff and like just hanging out with his friends. And I was like, wait, like he's a real person. Like
No, I remember that too, because that was like also like when I was a big Harry Styles fan, and I remember like he posted a backstage photo from every show, and I remember that, and I like was like I got so excited to see mine. I was like, ooh, this is before I saw him. I got so excited. But yeah, that was cool, and I think like also like a lot of like that is like capturing memories.
Oh, for sure, yeah. I love photographers that like take photos of the crowd, because like there's so many like incredible photos out there of people like screaming or like jumping or dancing or crying. Like those are my favorite photos because you can really like you can just feel their joy through the screen. It's so cool.
Yeah. And it's also like obviously like art tells stories, photos tell stories, but like these stories are so like personal, I feel like.
And it's also like live music, it only happens once. So it's like it's just so cool. Okay, so now that I've kind of talked about my experience with concert photography, I know that you go to a lot of punk shows and just like you go to a lot of cool stuff, Blue. I'm so jealous of you.
Well, I gotta bring you to a punk show. It'll be fun.
I know you do. You really do. But tell me about that and your experience with that.
Yeah. So like during like early quarantine, I like really got into the music that I like now. Like that was like the beginning of that. Before that, I pretty much only listened to musical theater and One Direction. So yeah, it's like a big transition for me. But yeah, I remember like I would see so many photos of like music movements in the past that like of stuff I was listening to. So there's like grunge and Riot Girl. And I was just like scrolling Pinterest, you know, as one does. But like I would see all these photos and I would be like, that is so cool, and that is like, I want to be a part of that. And it's like so cool to like listen to that, like listen to the music and see like what was going on with the photos at that time. And like I watched so many like concert videos from like grunge bands like on YouTube. That's like all I would do with my time. But yeah, it really like made me want to be a part of the local music scene, especially like because grunge and Riot Girl were happening here. So it was like I'm seeing these photos like from venues I can still go to and like see bands there. And yeah, it just like really captured that movement and moment really well, and it like just made me really like want to be a part of it. Yeah, and then when like quarantine ended, like I started going to punk shows like all the time, and I see so many photographers there, and like I follow them on Instagram, and I'm like, oh, it's you. It's so funny because like I don't know people's names, I just know their Instagram handle. And I'm like, oh, that's Pounding the Nail on Instagram. Yeah, no, but yeah, I follow like all their like so many people, and I see all their photos the photos of shows, like shows that I wasn't at, and then photos of shows that I was at. I'm like, oh, I was there, and I like get so excited, and because it's like I'm like being a part of like these movements that I like saw in photos, and I was just yeah, literally. And my dad like was around in Seattle in the 90s, and I go to so many shows with him, and he like is always telling me about how the Seattle scene right now feels like it did in the 90s.
Bringing it back.
Yeah.
Really bringing it back.
Yeah, and I'm like I can't believe like I get to be a part of that, because like I thought that would like not exist, because I was just like in my room on Pinterest looking at these photos. But yeah, I just like really like that was just really fun, and I love going to punk shows, and I love like all these photographers. I think they're just like so awesome.
Okay, as we mentioned before, we're going to have some interviews on the podcast, and today we have a very cool person. This is our teen interview. Their name is Kairos, and they're a concert photographer based in Seattle. I guess my first question that I have for you is, like, how did you get into concert photography? Like, how'd you get started? What was that like? Like, how'd you find out about this? Because I don't think a lot of people are, like, since birth, hey, concert photography, that's what I want to do.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've always really been into photography, and both my parents are artists, and they're both performers, and so I was kind of like in that environment just growing up, and just like the entertainment industry. And so I was like, I don't know, I was like 3, and they're just like carrying me around backstage and shit. So yeah, I got really into photography probably in middle school, and then around then I started really getting into just like going to live music, and then like going to venues and stuff. And I think when I hit high school, like I went to an art school, and so we have, you know, you can be like a performing arts major, you can be a visual arts major, and we have this thing called like special events, and so that's when like the visual arts majors pair with like a specific performing art major. And we partner up with Real Art Tacoma, which is like small venue, and then it's so cool.
I saw this one, it was so good.
Yeah, so everyone's like friends with, like, I don't know if you know Kevin, but Kevin's like kind of the organizer, and he like is booking everything for that place. So yeah, he just gets me and my friends like gigs just to do. So I just started kind of doing like small events for my friends, and since then I've just been kind of.
That is so cool. Do you have like an estimate of how many shows you've shot, or a number?
Ooh, I don't know.
Because I know you shoot a lot, but
I do. I think just at Real Art, probably like around 20, just at Real Art. I've really just like stuck around there. I haven't really gone like to any other big venues recently, but
we love.
yeah, so it's just like fun being part of just like specifically like just that local community, even if I don't live in Tacoma. It's like
Okay. The next thing I kind of wanted to talk about is like the latest show you've shot, if you remember. If not, that's fine. But like, what was that experience? Who did you shoot? Like, give it a little shout out.
So the special projects I think I was talking about, it's kind of like every year. And so I'm a junior, I'm in my 3rd year. And so we just kind of finished that before first semester ended. And so that was like, I don't know, maybe like 3 weeks ago. I paired up with my friends. They're part of a band called Nebula. Check them out. They're really cool. So I just took a bunch of photos for them. Real art. And it was so fun, especially we got to kind of like hang out with them. We get a photo pass. Right. So I get to hang out with them backstage, and Real Art has kind of like an underground little backstage. Ooh, wow. And so that's really fun. You get to go down there, and it's so cool. It's just like everyone who's ever been there is kind of like Mark is there already. And so you just hang out back there, and I got to just like take some pictures just like behind stage of like just them hanging out in the stairwell, and that was just fun. It's like, and then of course the show was awesome, but just hanging out with my friends and just like taking like more candid photos of just like us hanging out.
Have you noticed, like, you're talking about your last show, but like, have you noticed like how you've grown since like your first show to like now? Like, how has that been like?
I mean, like most photographers, I like started like very like just landscapes, or like let's take a picture of a sunflower, like something like that.
Yes, let's go to the beach at sunset and take photos.
So everything was like so, I don't know, even just like Pinterest coded or something.
Tumblr 2013.
Exactly. Yeah, so I think mainly it's just like I'm such an introvert, and like getting comfortable with something that is so personal, just with concerts is like, it's such a switch. So I think it's just made me become, I think, a little more like approachable, like for myself, and then also just like I feel more comfortable just like talking to people in general. Style wise, I think my editing style has changed huge. Like I don't know, I think it's not really portraits, like switching from landscapes to portraits, but I think just like learning how to kind of like capture that kind of like concert atmosphere because it's so different from like taking a picture of an animal. Yeah. So yeah, I think just like my editing style has like really, really changed drastically, and I just feel much more extroverted when I'm taking photos.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, more on editing. What is your editing process like? Because I feel like between everyone, it's so different, and like I just want to know.
It is. So I think something that's been like so huge for me, like I never used presets when I started. I was like, presets? No, like that is. I know, I feel like a cheater when I was using a preset, and so I would always like before just like, and I would never even like copy and paste settings. I would just like start and I do one each individually, and I still sometimes do. But I mean,
Look, you say it. I can't say anything.
I know.
Wait,
Editing wise, presets, they save me. I use presets all the time, and then I use Lightroom, Lightroom Classic, and so you can like make your own presets, and so that's just like helped me just like kind of define like my style and stuff. And I know that a lot of my friends can like recognize my photo just by like seeing it out of others.
I love photographers. They're just like distinctly like, oh, this person took that photo.
I mean, I think I'm so diligent when I work on like just editing in general, and so I'm really trying to like kind of like execute everything as quickly as possible all the time. But I do take a long time when I'm editing, and because I do want it to be as, just personal as possible for the artist and the fans and stuff. Yeah.
Thought. Okay, and then final little question. Do you have like a favorite memory or show or like any other experiences you've had that you want to share?
I think when I think like the moment when I first like really wanted to do concert photography is I went to go see like this indie artist called Addison Grace, and like right before quarantine, and it was at the Crocodile, and so I'd gotten like front row, and I had like my little digi cam with me. Wow. And so I got some fun photos, and you can like be in their Discord server, and then you can like post the photos that you got. And I posted one, and they commented on it, and they were like, "Oh my god, this is so good! Can I use it on my story or something?" And I freaked out, and I had just like this little fangirl moment.
That is so incredibly real. That is so real.
And just like after that, I think just like especially just the praise from like an artist, a real touring artist, and it was just like I could make a living out of this, and I could get to go to shows.
That is so incredibly real. That is so real. No, like that's just like the dream is like traveling, going to concerts, and taking photos.
Travel and concerts are just like my two biggest things that I just love.
I just love concert photography. Perfect. Well, thank you so much.
Jojo Gaon is a longtime community organizer, photographer, and activist who has worked in the nonprofit world for most of his career. Jojo was also a co-founder of Giro, which is an international collective of photographers. He helped launch 2 local young artist movements, Isang Mahal and Seattle Youth Speaks. He regularly contributes to Huffington Post and LifeWire and has been published in a variety of publications. He has been on tour with Justin Timberlake as a photographer, loves playing Hold'em poker, was on an all-API team for Ultimate Frisbee, and is proud of his Pokemon Go Pokédex collection. Thanks so much to Jojo for joining us on the podcast today.
My first question for you is, how long have you been taking photos at concerts or live music shows?
I've been doing it since 2011.
Wow. Yeah. Long time.
Yeah.
What got you interested first, like in taking photos during shows, and how did you get started with that?
I think a lot of it is with the challenge of keeping up with lights, because the stage, concerts, etc., all of those lighting sessions are very different, right? So you have to adjust on the fly, and I like that challenge. So,
were you a photographer before, like pursuing specifically concerts, or do you just go straight into concerts?
Yeah, I was doing a lot of commercial stuff first, and then and sports, and then from there had moved on to being asked to do like a lot of concerts. So my first concert tour was actually like a Justin Timberlake 2020 tour, which was in 2013.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Justin Timberlake first tour.
Yeah,
it's like really like high profile for your first thing.
Yeah. It was fun. So we did the Eastern leg, and then I did a couple of shows on the West. It was fun. And then from those photos, I actually was able to like parlay those photos into the Huffington Post. So the Huffington Post was like, all right, so we'd want you to shoot for us, because I had been shooting for them for like other like protest photography. And then I was like, I want to do concerts for y'all, but I want to be specific in terms of the type of music. And so I went with the island reggae genre. So whenever any Hawaiian reggae folks would come up, or I was in an area where there was a Hawaiian reggae concert, then the Post would pay for me to get in there, and I would get press credentials and all that fun stuff to be able to do those shows.
That's so cool. Like, is there a specific reason why that's the genre that you want to shoot, or just
because it doesn't get that much coverage, right? I think there's only like maybe 3 other photographers who actually do coverage for them, unless you're paying like big money for companies to be able to send out their concert photographers. And so I like to do it because then I get to know them. We got good rapport, and at the same time I get to give them exposure. So yeah,
that's awesome. I love that. What is your favorite part about the work that you do?
I think in concert photography, again, I like the challenge. I like the idea of like capturing images that are emotive. Like, when in a concert, a lot of the artists have already kind of set some preset routines and how they're going to be performing a song, or how they're going to be listening to some of the rhythm, and you'll see them like, it's just a natural habit to be able to do something that's comfortable for you. And so a lot of times what I'm looking for is the parts where they're not comfortable. And actually those are the shots that I feel like are the most, at least for me, I feel like they're the most impactful with story, right? Because with still photos, you don't have the music behind you, right? So you're just guessing what song they're singing or whatnot. And so it's really cool when I feel like if I could show you a picture of J-Boog or Justin even, like, and then you'll be like, oh, I bet you I know that song that they're singing based on the capture that I show you. And in photography in general, actually, I don't like the commercial stuff where it's really about ads, right? Like it's really about marketing. And so my favorite pieces of photography are going to be like when I go out and do shoot for myself, which is like street photography, or when I was shooting for the Seahawks, a lot of it was to be able to do so because I could do it on the fly and like capture what I wanted to capture. I say, like, there's a lot of shit out there that just don't work, right? Like a lot of times it feels fabricated. And I think that sometimes you forget about the realness. And that's the most important piece of like connecting, at least photos that I want to shoot, is having those connections be from the person that I'm shooting, from the subject, to me, who is the storyteller, to the person who's watching the story, right? Like, I think there's got to be a thorough line between those things. And if it doesn't, it's pretty fucking boring.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, it's all about like capturing that authentic moment that will connect with people.
Yep.
Kind of going along with that theme of like capturing moments, like how do you know when is the right moment to take a photo, or when, like during a show when it's so fast paced?
Again, I think there's a lot of tendencies, right? So I request that before a show happens, I want to go in there for sound check, right?
Mm-hmm.
So sound check, sometimes they're just doing beats, they're doing mic levels. It's a lot of the tech stuff that they're handling, but then they'll do a verse and a chorus off a song, and I'll watch how they will perform those. Now, it's not going to be 100% accurate because it's just sound check, but I can see kind of those habits that they show, the routines that they show. And so I prepare myself for like, all right, this is where I know that they're going to blah, blah, blah. And I'm just trying to be there. The trick, again, with concert photography is not so much capturing them performing. It's really about the lights. So how dramatic are my settings to match the dramatic scene that is in front of me, right? So sometimes I don't want to have their face to be clear, right? I don't want it to be that way. I want them to be just a silhouette behind fog. You know what I'm saying? So, and then capture still those things. And yeah, so I think I just try to see those habits and routines kind of play out throughout the concert.
Yeah, I love that. Who has been your favorite or most memorable artists or bands that you've shot?
Obviously, my first was Justin, and so I think that felt, that's one I'm going to remember for a long time, right? It's not feeling good about it all the way. When I did red carpet for the BMAs for 3 years straight, and so I was able to shoot some artists there who were, at least at that time, they were still up and coming. So I remember like Ariana Grande's first BMAs, and so she was performing. I did Rihanna, and then with the Island Reggae, like Common Kings and J Boog have been my favorite. It's really interesting to see also as we capture these times, and now we're looking at past a decade now for some of my photos for the early concerts, and to see how they've either matured or like the market, they've appealed to the market, and how their agencies have made them change throughout. Like Ariana Grande, when she came out, she was so innocent, like. And I'm not saying that she's not innocent now. I'm just saying she's grown up now, right? Versus, oh yeah, you were a little baby back then when I was shooting for your first time at the VMAs, right? So, yeah. And so, like, those are the memories that I will take in, and then obviously having the privilege and honor to be able to do so.
Yeah, that is super cool. Okay, and then our last question for you is, how or where can people find you if they want to see your work?
So my surname is Brad Fwitt, and it's on Instagram.
Cool. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
This was the TeenTix Arts Podcast. Thank you for listening. Maybe this episode inspired you to go check out some live music near you, or at least just gave you some insight on who took those photos of your favorite band. Join us next month when we talk about another artistic inspiration of one of the TAP hosts.